Hello everybody, it's the Historical Gamer once again, and today we're returning to Suzerain, a political simulation and role-playing game. This is episode number 18 of our Let's Play series, and we're about to pick a new vice president. We have promised Albin Calvin, the leader of the reformist wing, that we would give him the vice presidency. Toria Glory is the head of the Conservative Party, so she would probably be the most politically connected individual. And Lucian is our political advisor, who is probably the most astute politician in the game. In previous playthroughs, I picked Lucian, and spoiler alert, it went very well, but we're going to keep our promise to Calvin, who we bribed off to win the constitutional vote, and go with him. We'll see how it plays out. I've never picked him. I've never played through this way before, but it's what folks voted for. The chat on my Twitch live stream, link in the description if you want to follow the streams there. So we'll go ahead and pick Calvin as we continue this series. In our previous series, by the way, our former vice president, if you were not following, was arrested for having an affair with my secretary, who was a spy and who he hired. We will keep our promise because Albin could expose our bribery or whatever, and we will keep our word. The start of the day at the palace. Lucian were on our way out to my office. I was holding a mug of coffee in one hand and a folder of various documents in the other. As we turned a corner, Lucian spoke. The Arch-Sheriff anniversary is coming up soon. The most important day for the Blutish populace. Vantan Askraf is one of the symbols, as you know. Your presence at this event would show your desire for a more unified Sordland. We'll reap the benefits if you decide to go, I'm sure. Watch, and now Lucian puts me in a position to get assassinated. I don't want to cause further division among swords because of this. As I said, I believe this is an opportunity to portray yourself as a unifier, not a divider. We rounded the corner to reach last corridor leading to my office. Lucian suddenly stopped in front of one of the doors. The plaque that once said Vice President Peter Victorin had been removed. The door was halfway open, and I could see a few workers moving boxes around the room. One of them saw us, bowed his head, and changed the name tag on the door to Vice President Albin Calvin. I heard Albin's voice from inside. You can leave it there, thanks. He noticed us and immediately made his way to us. Mr. President, Lucian. That's Mr. Galde to you, Mr. Vice President. Very well, Mr. Galde. How's it going? You settled in yet? Thanks for the follow, Francis. Getting there, Mr. President. That reminds me, Mr. Galde, please deliver this to my secretary. This needs to be in the hands of the Chief Justice Committee as soon as possible. Lucian's upper lip curled. He and Albin stared at each other from down a moment. I'm not your servant, Mr. Calvin. True, but I'm your superior, Lucian. We work with requests here, Mr. Calvin, not orders. Then I request, Mr. Galde, could you please deliver this to my secretary, please? Fine, I'll take it. Calvin's an asshole. I'll see you later, Mr. President. For the Ashriff matter, I'll present you with options later. Well then, I must get back to tidying up this room. Thank you for visiting, Mr. President. I think I might have made the worst choice. Calvin seems like a frickin' dick. I want you to try and get along with Lucian. He certainly doesn't know the meaning of make good impressions on your first day. Just like, oh, I'm in charge now. I can fuck with you. Mediation of a dispute in the gendarme. I arrived in the city of Vesord with my new Vice President Albin after receiving an emergency meeting request from Yosef and Leels. I had seen the reports of the recent issue that arose between the Sordish police force and the gendarme. The report said that the operation against a drug trafficking gang in Velsord failed due to miscommunication. We entered the city hall and made our way to the second floor. I could hear Josef and Leal's voices echoing through the hall. I opened the door to the meeting room and the two ministers did not even realize.
This is unacceptable. How dare you, the police, meddle in the affairs of the gendarmerie?
It was your men who started this ridiculous and meddled with an ongoing police investigation. Rule security is my jurisdiction. Your men were way outside Vesord. We're here to help with the matter. What's going on? Mr. President, Mr. Vice President.
Apologies, but Mrs. Graf here fails to understand her place.
No, Mr. Lankia, you are the one who does not understand his place. If you continue to do so, you will pay for it one day. Slam the table.
Bam!
Explain what happened. Mr. Greaser was tasked with the investigation of a drug trafficking ring downtown Vesord. We found evidence of a drug stash located in the outskirts of the city. We had to act quickly to put an end to the criminals, and we've been watching for some time, so immediately sent our police units to catch them and find the drugs in the compound. Mr. Lankia and the gendarmerie did not notify us that they were also moving against the same target. As a result, the criminals got away and we lost months of progress. Yeah, this would be like some bad comedy stock laughter or whatever. You went out of your jurisdiction to pursue these criminals? Isn't there a line of communication between you two? There is, but the defense minister decided to avoid notifying the police department about our planned raid. The same could be said about you, because the reports show that you knew about the gang and their stash in the countryside. How do we solve this issue so it doesn't happen again? I think this was the last drop. Internal security matters should be handed to the Ministry of the Interior completely. We're called the Ministry of the Interior for a reason. We can't let any more screws like this happen again. I want the gendarmerie to be transferred to the Ministry of the Interior.
Are you out of your mind?
To me, what needs to change is not the structure itself, but the problem in it. We need to find out what's causing this and fix it. I believe I just told you the fix to the problem, Mr. Calvin. Please address me as Mr. Vice President, Miss Graf. I simply don't think the end justifies the mean in this case. This is not an individual case. This has been happening for a long time, in case you did not know, Mr. Calvin. Ridiculous. This is absolutely ridiculous. I won't hand over the gendarmerie to her. Out of the question. Do you have a better solution, Josef? Whenever operations overlap, we should engage at a lower rank with the local officials on both sides. We could work on establishing that, but it still doesn't change that it's the wrong system that exists now, no matter what we need to eliminate the gray area and modernize our internal security. Now I see what's going on here. Leal set us up to create this incident. Leal's bit her lip. There's no way that the police has arrived at the right time of a month-long search on the exact day and minute the gendarmerie raid. Let's take it down a notch with the accusations. This kind of accusation is unheard of. It's nonsense. If I were you, I wouldn't believe a word Mr. Lankia says, Mr. President. Heed my word, Mr. President. When dealing with these situations, you need to always look at who gets what out of what. I won't stand idle by these utterly ridiculous and baseless accusations. I don't have time for this. What's your decision? I really gotta make this decision here and now? Where's Lucian? I could use him. I don't trust Leals. She seems like a snake. There will be no change to the gendarme operations. We're making a mistake. Thank you for protecting the structure and authority of the Ministry of Defense. I don't trust. Here's the reason I made that decision. I don't trust Leals. And if I give her the gendarme and I don't trust her, now she controls all of the internal security in rural and non-rural areas and puts her in a position to launch a coup against me. Meanwhile, I also piss off Josef and the military. So I pissed the military off, who could counter the internal security forces, And I empower the internal security forces with no longer a counterweight of a strong support in the military. So if I'm balancing the support, if things stay BAU, even if Leals turns on me, I've got the military to fall back on as a support group. And I don't think, given we've been increasing the funding and the military hasn't really indicated any sort of power struggle internally, that they're likely to turn on me, while Leals does definitely feel like someone who's trying to turn on me. From now on, I want to work together and don't fight amongst each other. Everybody behave, you're all adults. All right. Briefing on the current healthcare situation. Oh, fuck. I don't have any money for anything. At a meeting scheduled with Pascal to receive the annual healthcare report, he arrived at my office with stacks of papers underneath both arms. Mr. President, he put a mountain of papers on his desk and made a loud thud sound. I know this seems like a lot. Reviewing it shouldn't take more than a day. Or maybe 2. Very well. Thanks for bringing these in. No problems at all. They contain very important information about the status of our healthcare. Salaries, expenditures, hospital reports, whatever you like. We can go through them together. Okay, let's begin. I don't want to bore you, so I'll quickly summarize. I breathed a sigh of relief as he put on his reading glasses to look at the document he was holding. So we have concluded our report for the year. Our services haven't necessarily gotten better compared to the last years. We've missed several funding opportunities to expand our services in the country, leading to several issues being unsolved. Didn't we give them free pain medicine? What was the point of that drug bill if it wasn't going to do anything? Don't blame yourself. It was my decision. We're in this together, Mr. President. The ministry is trying to improve the efficiency where possible, even in the situation. But as you can see, it hasn't been the best year for us all. We'll do better next year. That's what I'm trying to achieve. Now I have to give you a short summary. There's very important matters to discuss. It was a report from the Ministry of Health. Each page had a stamp on it that read, "For the President's eyes only." The report was the polio outbreak in Bergia. How bad is it? For now, it seems to be under control. We've put a few villages under quarantine. The total number of infected is currently 1,467. The death toll is 23 so far. If we have more outbreaks, the results will be terrible. We're not where we could have been in terms of our healthcare funding. With what we currently have, I'm afraid it might not be enough to curb the infection ratio. It's a very serious matter, Mr. President. The lives of Sordish citizens are at stake. What can we do about it? We've done our research. There's a cure. A vaccine was recently invented in the United Cantana, and the formula has been made available for free across the entire world. No matter what people think about United Cantana, if the same thing happened in Arcasia, we would be paying a steep price for it. Unfortunately, because of the status of our current funding, we have neither the required materials nor the funding to produce this vaccine locally, which means we'll have to buy it. It'll be costly, but nothing comes before health. Procure whatever you need immediately. -1 government budget. I think we can go. We've been at -2 before and been okay. We don't know what other expenses may come up, but we know there's a bill currently in the works to tax cigarettes and alcohol. So if we can pass that bill, we may be able to outweigh this once we get to it, and I really don't want a plague to break out. So we'll procure whatever you need immediately. Whatever it takes to protect Sordland. Do it. Excellent. Now, if you'll excuse me, I must go to work immediately and begin injecting our people with human growth steroids. We will become supermen. He left his office, leave me alone with paperwork to go through. Okay, so what's going on? Economy, situation. Recovered trade volume. Recent diplomatic efforts by Sordland have led to the successful signing of a comprehensive trade deal and significant trade partner. Okay. That didn't change recently. Epidemic prevented. Yay! National security breached? Is that just because of the whole spy incident? Failed trade negotiation. Oh, these are outdated updates that are just coming through now. Albin Calvin is the vice president. It's official. Albin Calvin is the new vice president of Sordland. Looking at this pick objectively, I catch myself thinking that honestly, it could have been worse. Much worse. President Rayne could have picked Mr. Calvin's conservative counterpart, Gloria Tory, for example. Regardless, we can say with certainty that Mr. Calvin will be a much better vice president than Peter Vectorn. Volcanic power. Oh God, that sounds like a disaster waiting to happen. Free medicine. Citizens in Estord have received their first completely free prescription medicine. Some cancer and diabetes patients have expressed how much the measure relieved their finances. Yeah, finally. I mean, like, I issued that a while ago. Oh, less smoking bill. Yes, give me the money. Money, 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 money. The Assembly passed an amendment to the tax bill. Yep. I need money. Sorry, economy, but I need money. And just like that, the growth tilted down. Really? This game really doesn't like taxes, huh? Tobacco consumption reduced. It doesn't say the economy is no longer stable, though. So, I'm at least guessing we're at least flat, which could be good. All right, so we at least paid for the polio vaccine. Fair Trade Commission established. The effort to bring fairness to trade and commerce in Sordland is led by a visionary small business owner who sued the Heart of Sordland in an unfair competition bid and won in court. As I stepped through the front door of our stately residence, a sense of tranquility washed over me. The house was quiet, almost too quiet, without Frank blasting his music from upstairs. I entered the grand study and let the warm glow of the room envelop me. Monica was sitting by the fireplace with a very old-looking book in her hands. I must say, you seem to have quite the fondness for these dusty tombs. Oh, I didn't realize you were home. But yes, between the dusty covers lie words of knowledge and waiting to be explored. I took some books from the presidential library. This one in particular caught my eye. It's about women's struggles in post-revolution Vagsland and breakaway states. Are you becoming a malevolist, my dear? This isn't about that. We shouldn't let our political opinions get in the way of learning about what revolutionaries did right. But anyway, is everything really going well at work? Especially after everything that happened with Peter? Peter who? I don't remember him. I'll be honest, the palace does feel a lot more uncomfortable and intimidating without him around. I wish it had all gone differently. I understand, but honestly, maybe it was all for the best. Thanks to you, I was just about the only woman at the university he didn't go after. But I saw the way he was and how he continues to be. The truth is that man has always been a bad influence on you, and I don't think he should be forgiven after what he did. I knew Peter had his problems, Monica, but he is my closest friend. You're right. I should have listened to you back in the day. Isn't that always the moral of these stories? Listen to your wife. I don't know, Anton. All of this seems to have put you under a massive amount of stress. I've also seen that more and more protests have been propping up around the country lately. I'm worried things may get out of hand.
They're just a bunch of traitors who began supporting foreign powers.
There's no need for concern. People are just voicing their criticism. I guess you're right. But I think you need a break, Anton. Maybe we can make some time for a little getaway. We can have a weekend retreat at the vineyard in Elroy. What do you think? Just the two of us. We can make it if we try. Just the two of us. Just you and I. Just the two of us? Well, Frank is not around anymore, and I'm sure Deanna would love a sleepover at one of her friends, so why not? Just then we heard the pitter-patter of small feet approaching the study. Deanna appeared by the door with a piece of folded paper clutched in her hand. Mama, Papa, my school report came in. Monica and I immediately turned our attention to her, our curiosity piqued. Oh no, not the dreaded report. That's my girl. I can't wait to hear about it. I was so close to the top of the class. I heard a mix of pride and disappointment in her voice. Almost doesn't count, honey. Sounds like you gotta try harder. That's incredible, Deanna. You worked hard and it shows. You did great, darling. I'm sure I would have been at the top if I'd done better in handicrafts, but those classes are so boring. And there's that stupid blonde boy, Marcus. He never even studies, but the teachers always give him higher grades than everybody else. Don't call him stupid, baby. Who is this Marcus? I told you about him, Mommy. Marcus Calvin, the one who can't even do basic math, remember? Marcus Calvin? My vice president's kid? What the fuck? You better have your son's grades get worse. Did you just say Calvin? Oh, really? Maybe I should have a talk with your school. What do you mean by talk, Papa? Please don't come to the school and shout at the teachers like Marcus's father did. What? Oh, what a fucking dweeb. I knew Marcus wasn't the... I shouldn't have picked him as my VP. What a fucking snake. He did what? He did he? Looks like I have a lot of talking to do. Okay. Isn't that your new VP, Anton? How do you keep finding men like this? Come on, Monica. How would I have known about any of this? I suppose you wouldn't. Anyway, you hungry? I didn't cook today, but the chef prepared a wonderful Rizian meal for us. Rizian? Yes, it's similar to Lespasian food, but better. There's a lobster dish called the Taurus Flambe. She grabbed Deanna's hand and we walked to the kitchen together. My vice president sucks. I made the worst pick. Support Anshreef anniversary. A question to support and attend the Anshreef anniversary event. Why did I listen to my chat? Why did you guys tell me to pick that guy? Ugh. The Remembrance Rally of Anshreef anniversary is about to begin in Ezram. The Blutish movement is holding their largest rally yet to display their demand and strength. Due to the activity of the BFF in the area, the security detail advises to take caution. The administration can go to Suzerain to support the event with or without an armored convoy, or not attend at all. Listen, we've never been shy. We've always been a bold and trusting individual, and we're going to go without the armored convoy. This is where I get shot. Hopefully not. On our way to Inner Suzerain, we stopped to meet with the local police chief, Jonas Fischer, to discuss how the abolishment of the zone was faring for the locals. The city had been of particular importance to the Bloodish people ever since the Izium incident and the death of Vanti Ashrif over 2 decades ago. Today we were here to commemorate the anniversary of those events. The ceremonies were to be held in the aptly named Izum Square, several blocks away from Lake Sol and the sunken ruins of the village of Izum. We entered the historic center in the presidential colada. The streets were littered with broken glass and the walls defaced with graffiti. I sensed a heavy regional police presence. Our convoy could barely fit through the narrow streets, disrupting local traffic and creating noisy chaos in the usually tranquil city. Pedestrians stared at us with concern as we and our security forces drove toward the square. I must say this was a good decision, sir. This will help ease tensions. I am still worried about our safety. It's certainly a risk, but if we manage to win some hearts today, it'll be worth it. We're almost there. I can hear the crowd. I heard the chants and shouting from outside. Lucien leaned closer to the window, listening to the voice. A crack, a bullet. Lucien's head exploded. No, just kidding. They're telling us to go back where we came from. A large crowd had assembled in the square. There were probably at least 10,000 people. Most of them were yelling insults and obscenities at me. As our convoy slowed down, a young bluish man ran in front of our vehicle and spat on my window. I didn't do anything. Our vehicle came to a stop. My driver exited the vehicle and opened the door for me. The crowds before me had signs in their hands protesting my decision to centralize Bergia. We were greeted by Manson Leek. He wore a coat over his suit, which was marked with the red and turquoise stripes of the Bloodish Movement's flag. He moved forward to greet us. Welcome to Suzerain, Mr. President. I held our hands clasped so that the crowd could see them. I heard shouts and Bloodish coming from the crowd. Mr. Leek? Mr. Galde, welcome. Shall we move on to the sanctuary then? Let's go. We made our way to Ezrain's sanctuary, which stood at the end of the square, a much smaller replica of the anti-sanctuary in Dire. The ancient buildings had a mystical aura emanating from its blackened walls. We entered the building through the ornamented large metal gates. As we walked, the noise of the crowd faded out. Everybody fell silent for the ceremony. Thousands of candles were burning inside the sanctuary, one for each person that died in the Izum. The red candle in the center was for Vanti Ashraf. Mansoon gestured toward the candles. Which one do we pick? I don't trust you, cow kicker. If we take the red, that seems bad, right? The pick the red candle sounds like something that would start a riot or create a scandal or something. So I'll just pick up a candle since that's what he gestured to me. He picked up the candle for Ashraf and started walking out. Many others followed suit. Oh, so the red one was for Ashraf. Okay. I think it would be presumptuous for me, not a blood, to take the most important of the candles, I would assume. The atmosphere outside had completely changed. Not a single noise came from the crowd. We slowly walked toward Ashraf's grave. On the way, hundreds of people joined us. Someone from the crowd shouted at me, breaking the silence.
Don't mock the dead, you racist dog! You're defiling that candle in your hands.
Keep walking. When we arrived, he pointed at a huge standing torch above the grave. I'm not gonna... Maybe light it with him? He's not telling me what to do. Light the torch together. I turned around and realized the sheer amount of people who were following us. They were all looking at me, waiting to hear what I would say. Well, they're not free. Oh boy. Brothers and sisters is too nationalistic. That would not, I don't think that would play well. 4 super, there isn't a 4. I'm guessing we're gonna go with 2 here, my fellow citizens. We are here to mourn Vanti Ashrif and many others who have lost their lives. I condemn the events that led to the loss of these lives. I share your hatred and anger. I feel it too. I assure you, like a red-hot iron, it takes a long time for it to cool. But I look at the lost lives and think, what would they want? An old man from the crowd yelled revenge. Is it this old man?
Avenge me! Avenge me!
To what end? We need to break this cycle of violence and vengeance for a better future. Let me tell you one thing. I dream of a truly united Sordland, a country where being a blood or a sword does not matter. One or three, I think. We must always stay together in the face of adversity against all odds. I'll say one. Let me tell you one thing. I dream of a truly united Sordland, a country where being a blood or a sword does not matter. Mistakes were made. I feel responsible and ashamed for the actions of my predecessors. Most of all, I feel the desperation to remove this black mark from our history. I need help from each and every one of you to make this country a better place for everyone. I don't remember what the morning will come thing would. Is that a Sordish nationalism thing? So it's maybe a 1 or a 3? I think appealing to the audience is probably a good idea. So I'll go with number 1. Unless I pissed him off with what I said before, and then it may not work out well, but we'll see. Are you with me? There was no reaction, only silence. I must admit, Mr. President, that was a good speech. I hope the crowd thinks the same. He extended his hand for me for a handshake. Shake his hand. As we shook hands, the crowd started to clap. Thank you for this, Mr. President. I don't think people of Ezram will ever forget this. Oh, you wanted me to hug him? Too late. You've become the first and only president brave enough to come to Ezran and pay respects to the Ism victims. I hope this will be the start of a new era. Thank you. Lucien rushed over to me. Sir, it's time to go. We started making our way back to the convoy. Well done, sir. This will prove very useful in the upcoming elections. What's the rush? The whole trip runs on a schedule, sir. The convoy needs to start driving now or else we won't make it back in time. We entered our vehicle and started making our way back home from Ezram. I wonder if a hug would have led to a cry. It could have either been offensive or it could have been like a unifying, like, yay moment or something. I don't know. Too late. I guess I'd have to play it again to find out. Briefing on the current political situation. White Room, Maroon Palace. I walked to the White Room with a cup of coffee in my hand. My vice president had scheduled a meeting on the current political situation. I opened the door in the room and Albin immediately stood up. Good morning, Mr. President. Good morning. This shouldn't take long. I just wanted to go over the current political climate. Mr. Hole told me he's just about finished with his new plan for the economy. He said he wanted you to solidify the plan before it was presented to you. He'll schedule a meeting soon to go over our options. What are you, my secretary, Mr. Vice President? He's never failed me before. Mr. Hole is a savvy man. I'm sure he'll deliver as well. Next, it's time to talk about our election prospects. Before we move on, I want to ask you something I heard about from my daughter. Sure. Your daughter? Yes, people saw you shout at the teachers. I don't like power trips, Albin. Oh. Must be a misunderstanding. You can't use your title to threaten and manipulate the teachers to get your son ahead of everyone else. Frankly, it's disgusting. I didn't do anything wrong. He eyed me for a few seconds and then decided against whatever he was going to say. Well, okay, you're right. I hope it's all right with you that I've invited Mr. Galde to this portion of the meeting. Of course. Albin went to get the door. Lucien walked in. Mr. President, Mr. Vice President. If Lucien still resented my choice of Vice President, he didn't show it. His tone was nothing but cordial and professional. The three of us sat down, and Albin handed out a new set of documents. Mr. Calvin, I'll let you take the lead on this. Thank you, Mr. Galde. I just received the results of a voter poll commissioned by Peter Vector shortly before his departure. Put it in plain language, it's not great. Bad, even. The USP stands to lose up to 20% of the vote compared to last time around. Do we still have a chance? We still have a year to gain more votes, but we got to think strategically, which presumably is why you've retained the services of your chief strategist. You have something to add, Lucien? No, pardon the interruption. Albin shuffled some pages around. Looking at the demographics of the voters polled, you've fallen out of favor with conservatives. Less than half of them are likely to vote for you. The liberal base appears divided, but you have a considerable number of supporters there. For better or worse, you clearly aren't popular with the nationalists. If you've ever had any support from socialists, you've completely lost it now. Unsurprisingly, none of the Blutish poll respondents said they were planning on voting for you either. Lastly, we can't expect votes from centrists and unaffiliated voters unless we do something to win them over. Lucien, what do you suggest? Lucien smiled and bowed his head slightly. Thank you, Mr. President. This may sound like common sense, but a convincing enough campaign can succeed where policies fail. Even if you've opted not to focus on your campaign at the moment, I'd still advise you to seize every chance for exposure that you can. I'm a man of substance, Lucien. Image means nothing to me. I'd rather be signing bills and kissing babies. I'll take that into account. Good. One more thing. There's a not insignificant portion of undecided voters who don't care who occupies the Maroon Palace as long as the economy is running smoothly. Propping up the economy just ahead of the elections is a surefire way to win them over. Good to know. Stability is key. To allow the economy to improve further, currently the country still is struggling to develop due to instability. There's some worrying news. The Lothberg Group is up to something. My informants have been talking about frequent meetings happening between the oligarchs. That covers most of it. All right. Albin, your thoughts. What do the liberals want? I'll say the liberal base is very concerned with equality. If you want their vote, you need rock-solid policies on women's rights and human rights in general. Liberals love a free market, so if you've anything less than a full-bore capitalist, you're going to have to whip Sordland's economy into the best shape it's ever been. Sordland's lack of a free press has certainly not helped your chances with liberals. If you really want to clinch the liberal vote, you could always look for an excuse to leave the USP, but that's bound to have other consequences. That would be extremely unwise. I'm a USP man for life. Honestly, you're polling so well with liberals that you don't need to take any of my advice. Just don't tank the economy or oppress anyone too badly, and it'll be smooth waters ahead. Great. Is that all for today? That's everything on my end. Perfect. The three of us make a good team, don't we? Good work, both of you. I'll see you shortly. Codex entry updated, Supreme Court. What happened with the Supreme Court? I don't see anything. Can't I just rig the election? I don't think we've gone far enough down the corruption route to do that. Is there an update for Gassam? I don't see any update there. Supreme Court. I don't see an update there either. Okay, what's the news say? Government imposed mandatory vaccine. 13 dead in Morna attack. Gunman opened fire at random people during a protest in Morna with an AK-74. Fuck. Bomb threatened Benefi protests. Narbel bloodbath. In the recent chain of bloody events, this time Narbel was the victim. Protests were ramping up when, according to witness accounts, a group of 3 men ambushed the police with large knives, turning the police resting area into a bloodbath. 6 police have succumbed to their injuries. Jesus Christ. Okay. Violence in the Benefi protest. Widespread protests. What are they protesting about again? Seaport is 3/4 complete. Alright, so the polio is contained. They're protesting too. Everybody's protesting me. This ain't good. Huge portions of the country. Organized crime? Jesus. Everything's bad. Arcasian offers military investment aid. Okay. Protest in Capitol Park. Why is everybody protesting? I don't understand. Leals entered my office and took a seat. She was frowning intensely. She didn't talk at first and just fixed me with a steady gaze. When she did speak up, it was in strained tones. Mr. President, we have a problem. Go on. This just came here. Take a look. Protests have begun erupting all over Sordland. They are protesting you, Mr. President. They're asking for your resignation. Can't say this is unexpected. What is unexpected, however, is the sheer size of the protests and the level of violence. Several people have been killed already. Sordland hasn't seen this much unrest since the death of Bernard Circus. We'll need to handle these protests. Agreed. Carl Greaser is on his way here right now. He will tell us what he knows so far. And there he is. What's going on? Mr. President, I'm so sorry for being late. Carl, I already informed the President of the situation. Do you have any updates? As you know, protests have been organized in major cities like Holsword, Lockhaven, Dyer, and many more. Unfortunately, we're having a hard time suppressing the unrest. This is partly due to lack of riot gear. 8 policemen and 2 protesters have been killed during the clashes. One of the protesters seemed to have an AK-74. The situation is escalating quickly. We currently have 137 protesters in custody. Among the detainees, we have found Red Youth members and BFF members. I would like to remind you that some of these groups are banned by decree. The main rhetoric that they all share is they're demanding the president's resignation.
They dare defy me! Traitors!
If a president resigned whenever someone protested against them, there would be no presidents. Well said. What does the protester profile look like? We have investigated various groups involved in the protests and compiled a list of their complaints. The majority of these protests are about the state of the economy. There are some that are protesting against the full privatization of Needham Mining Group. Teachers are protesting against the decreased education budget. Thanks to the media, we are under fire for showing support of the Anschaff anniversary. In addition, there are many provocateurs that are not tied to any specific cause or crime. If the protests get even more violent than they already are, we are risking a civil war. Your orders, Mr. President? I can't fight against my own people. Set up a meeting with their spokesperson. I'll listen to their demands. I won't risk a civil war. Do whatever it takes to stop the protesters. Use force if necessary. Catch the ringleaders and sabotage their plans. I'm torn toward 1 or 3. I don't want to just like tell the police to go off and start shooting people. The flip side of that is if I go for the ringleaders, I mean, do we know? Obviously, the one guy shot people, but do we know that the ringleaders are doing bad things? Like, do we know that they're doing more than speaking, you know, speaking their mind? Which to me would seem to be legal. Not sure. I don't know if I'll follow through on their demands. I have the military on my side. I'm surprised there's not a bring in the military and declare martial law type deal. Let's find out who the ringleaders are. I don't trust Leals. She could be doing this all. It could all be her. Nationwide revolt? Oh, it's just protest. Okay. Sure isn't going to help the economy if you guys all start revolting. Arcasia offers military investment aid. Arcasian Foreign Minister Laurent Martel, in concert with Arcasian President Dwight Walker, has extended a significant proposition to bolster Sordland's military-industrial complex in Enrica. The generous aid package from Arcasia encompasses substantial financial assistance, logistical support, and an expert guidance from their private military companies. This offer aligns with the industrial expansion plans outlined by Ministers Hull and Manager, aiming to transform Sordland into a competitive hub for new industries. We're becoming pawns. What is this again? Has reached out and offered aid in exchange for Air Force access. So they want access for their Air Force to permanently be based here, perhaps? The military likes me, I think. But I could use cash to fix the economy, so I'm assuming I get money. Do I not get money for that? Or do I just get like a boost to my economy? But I'm not sure. The critical question remains, how can we best leverage this opportunity while preserving our national self-determination? Enrican ascendancy. Arcasian aid promises industrial revolution. Positive implications on our economy are manifold, and we need to openly navigate this investment to secure Sordland's long-term economic interests as we step into this new era. Okay. Military industry grows, bolstered by Unrakian investment. Okay, now what? Security Act. An SA bill has been passed by the GNA. In response to the heightened need for security due to the ongoing social unrest, the Grand National Assembly presents the Security Act to fortify public safety measures. Section 1 of the SA grants security forces the discretion to use force deemed necessary to uphold law and order. This provision is designed to enable quick and decisive responses in situations where public safety is at risk. Section 2 of the SA authorizes suspicion-based arrests and confiscations without the prerequisite of a warrant. This measure seeks to expedite law enforcement's response to potential threats, thereby enhancing overall security. Section 3 allows security forces to exercise their authority beyond standard legal limits if such action is deemed essential for maintaining state security and protecting the general public. This clause reinforces the commitment to safeguard national security and upholding public safety in the face of unrest. The legislature is basically giving the security forces the ability to destroy democracy. That's what they're suggesting. We got to get this unrest under control, though. So, we'll sign it. We'll see how bad things get.
President of Order. The escalating security situation in the country has led to a bipartisan effort in the Assembly that led to the passing of the Security Act. President Rayne has signed the bill into law to increase the security measures in the face of massive destruction surrounding the upheaval. The bill entails necessary measures such as use of force and suspicion arrests. Police officers have praised the administration for giving the Interior more authority to solve the security issues. Okay. Industrial expansion, a large expansion program. I don't have money. Minister Hole and manager have prepared a massive industrial expansion plan that could support several key industries in the country. Sorry guys, I can't do that. I don't have money. It is, but we're already -1 in budget. As I understand it, when I got to -2, there were serious inflation concerns, so I fear what -3 would do. A nationwide revolt erupted across the country, fueled by low public opinion and growing disconnect with the government's handling of the nation. As unrest intensified, it led to a significant decrease in stability, with violent clashes between protesters and security forces threatening to spiral into full-blown chaos. Was that a comet? Is that like a... Is that a reference to, Nero? Stability will be recovered. Checkmate. Oh, it's a reference to EU games? Really? Wasn't this the soccer team we had been given the option to invest in? The Women's Liberation Act. In collaboration with the Commission of Status. Okay, so we're gonna... I can't... -2. I don't have the money. My wife is gonna hate me. My wife is gonna hate me. When do I get more money? I need more money. You went to -7 without the debt crisis. When, Slicer? Before or after the 2.0 update? Just sign it, see what happens. I need to make some people happy with me. I guess we can sign it and see what happens. Maybe we'll win the election now. Excellent women's rights. Gender equality in education. I have no money. But I have that looming vacation with my wife on the horizon, so I don't want to piss her off. She might murder me. It was raining as Serge dropped me off at home after yet another grueling day of work. A guard held an umbrella over my head as I walked from the car. I flipped the lights on in the kitchen to find a note from Monica. Ciara had called her in for a last-minute women's rights meeting. She dropped Dion off at a friend and left me some food for reheating. I took the pot out of the fridge. It was filled with an unidentifiable, grayish-looking stew. Evidently, Monica's excellent cooking had been the first casualty of her political career. Reheat the stew. While I was heating up, I went to the living room to fix myself a drink. Suddenly, the phone rang, and I went back to the kitchen and answered it. Frank's voice was on the other end. Oh, I thought Mom would pick up. Your mother works harder than I do these days. Oh, right. My commander's worried women might be allowed into the military now. He thinks they're too emotional to serve. I got that record you sent me. Not bad for old folks' music. You take that back. How's Uncle Peter doing? I haven't heard from him since the press conference. Oh, okay. It's so messed up what he did. You know the military's worried about things escalating with Rumburg since you threw Livia in jail. They're moving more and more troops near Morgwar. Rumburg instigated aggression against us. It must face the consequences. I know, Dad. I'm ready to fight if I have to. May it never come to that. I'm graduating from basic training soon. The commander says I could be the next Josef Lancia. Sorry, you can't. You've got too much hair. Frank stifled a laugh. Honestly, I was so ticked off at you for sending me here, but I'm really starting to like it. Thank God for failure, right? You were never a failure. I suddenly became aware of a smoky smell coming from the kitchen. My dinner was burning. Good catching up with you, Frank. Yeah, okay. Bye, Dad. I raced to the stove to turn off the burner. The bottom of the pot was charred, but the part of the mystery stew was still salvageable. I ate alone by the flickering light of the television, wondering when Monica and Deanna would get home. Oh my goodness, what's all going on now? Police are overwhelmed in remote cities. Fair Trade Commission creates trade regulation. Debt crisis shocks the economy. The central bank and the Ministry of Economy are tackling the extensive damages caused by the debt. Fuck. Instability severely affects tourism. All right, everybody, that's going to do it for today's episode of Suzerain. We've been going for almost an hour, so we'll wrap it up here. The seaport of Morna opened, so hopefully that'll help the economy. We're heavily in debt, and the economy slipped back toward stagnation rather than growth, perhaps due to that. But we'll see how things play out in our next episode. Until our next episode, this is the Historical Gamer, saying once again, thank you very much for watching, and until next time, I'm out.